right, so today and tomorrow for reading, we are going to be reading a book called Step Right Up. And it says how Doc and Jim Key taught the world about kindness. And the fun thing about this book, it is a biography. A biography that tells the key events of the life of William Doc Key from his childhood until retirement. It says, but the writer really focuses on the special relationship between Doc and his horse, Jim. So the author's purpose in writing this story is to inform us about Jim's life and his relationship with his horse. And so this book is a little bit different than the biography we're going to be doing. We're more going to do like an article type biography, but this is a good way for us to practice biography and see other ways for it to be written. This book is written in third-person point of view, so a narrator is telling the story, because if it was first-person point of view, then it would be an autobiography, and it would be from the perspective of the person it's about. And this is not, because he's older. All right. This would be a longer book, so it's going to take us a couple days. Spring 1889 stretched a blanket of wildflowers over Shelbyville, Tennessee, but William Doc Key barely noticed. He paced and fidgeted like an expectant father. He had been on hand for plenty of verse before, but this one was special. Visions of a future champion racehorse darted through his mind as he comforted his mare, Loretta. Finally, a dark, wet colt lay shivering at her side. Doc knelt to welcome the little fella, but something was terribly wrong. He's the most splendidly shank-legged animal I ever did see, he said. Most folks would have given up on the colt right then, but Doc had a kind streak that ran through his heart and all the way back to his childhood. It says the birth of Jim, and then it went to the birth of William in his childhood. Why do you think the author added his childhood in there? What do you think's about to happen? Yeah, I think they're probably about to give us a little short snippet of his childhood so that we can understand how he's connecting to this horse. William Key was born into slavery in 1833. As a child in Shelbyville, he was full of questions about the world. In some parts of the United States, educating an enslaved person was a crime. Even where it was not forbidden, many owners did not want their enslaved people to be educated. But John and Martha Key, William's masters, like several others in Shelbyville, thought differently. So the Keys allowed William to join their sons for lessons. Learning gave William a sense of freedom. It says it gave him a sense of freedom. What does that mean? What do you think he meant by he had a sense of freedom? Well, because he had a little bit of an education, he was feeling more free. Free to do what he wants instead of, in slavery. From the time William was about 6 years old, it was clear he had a special way with animals. No matter how wild or rascally the animals, William befriended them and tamed them. He especially loved horses. A few years later, William's masters started sending him across Bedford County to work with other farmers' ornery animals. During these travels, William saw how some animals were neglected, beaten, and worked to death. He was gentle and patient with them instead. He thought nothing worse than being hurtful. William learned all he could about caring for the injuries and illnesses of people and animals. He paid special attention when his mother taught him how to distill roots and herbs into homemade remedies. As William worked at different farms and businesses, his doctoring skills developed and his reputation grew across Tennessee. By the time he was a young man, William was so good at treating injuries and ailments that everyone started calling him Doc Key, or just Doc. In 1865, the Civil War ended, and Doc built a new life as a free man. He married and bought his first patch of land in Shelbyville. It was the perfect spot to build his new horse hospital. Doc also perfected his own line of medicines, including keystone liniment, which could be used to treat both people and horses. After the war, many formerly enslaved people faced racism and prejudice from white people who would not recognize them as equals. Doc decided the best way to beat the prejudice he encountered was to try and make friends with everyone and show them he could be a successful businessman. He eventually opened a blacksmith shop, a wagon wheel and harness making shop, a restaurant, and a hotel. He even built a racetrack and dreamed of racing fine racehorses on his own. Doc's keystone liniment became so popular that he bought a medicine wagon, hired entertainers, and hit the road. He sold his medicines in towns across the South. Soon, Doc was one of the wealthiest men in Shelbyville. Why do you think he said he had to face prejudice? Why do you think, like, even after the Civil War was over and they have said, like, segregation is over, why do you think it said some people are still facing the prejudice? They're still facing racism because not everyone agreed with it. And so he was a determined man and said, well, if you're not going to be nice to me, I'm going to show you what I can do. And that's exactly what he did. One day, as Doc and his wagon clattered through a dusty town, he heard about a rundown circus in Tupelo, Mississippi, that was trying to sell its horses. As he neared the ragtag circus, Doc spotted a scrawny gray mare. She looked neglected and abused, and she walked with a limp. Despite her sad condition, Doc recognized that the mare was a purebred Arabian, a horse breed prized for intelligence and speed. Doc bought the horse, named Loretta, for $40 and welcomed her into his family. Doc lovingly nursed Loretta back to health. What do you think it means he nursed her back to health? Yeah, nursing her back means like he took care of her, gave her what she needed so that she could get better. When she was strong again, he paired her with one of the fastest racing stallions in the country. Doc hoped her offspring would grow up to be a champion racehorse. But on that spring day in 1889, the sight of the sickly colt almost broke Doc's heart. In an instant, Doc's racing dreams for the newborn horse vanished. For weeks, the young horse could barely walk. French urged Doc to put the colt out of its misery, but Doc wouldn't listen. Just as he has nursed Loretta back to health, Doc vowed to help her colt. What do you think vowed mean? He vowed to help her colt. Like he was devoted to that. He dished out just the right food and the medicines. He massaged the colt's knobby legs, groomed his scraggly coat, and mulled over the perfect name to give him. The biblical name Doc had chosen for a racehorse didn't fit the wobbly youngster, so Doc just called him Jim. Jim Key. Which text evidence proves that he was sad? What proves that he was sad in the results of this horse? It says Doc's racing dreams for the newborn were vanished. What else did it say? It says his sickly colt almost broke Doc's heart. So that lets us know he is sad for the condition of this horse. It says, put the colt out of his misery. What do people mean by that? Yeah, they're seeing that this horse is just miserable, and that they think like, well, if you would just put him down, you wouldn't have to worry anymore. So we're going to find out tomorrow if he does that or not.